Les Levidow, a co-founder of the Campaign Against Criminalizing Communities, CAMPACC. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, thank you.
Thank
Merhaba.
you. Merhaba. So let's start with how do you view the conditions of Öcalan's health? What is Turkish state aiming by isolating Mr. Öcalan?
The conditions of isolation amount at least to psychological torture, perhaps also physical torture, especially through medical neglect. This role is clear from the long history of prison isolation, especially in the US supermax prisons as well as in Turkey. This role is clear from the long history of prison isolation, for example, in the US supermax prisons as well as in Turkey. As we know from such barbaric states, isolating prisoners has several aims, especially to degrade their well being, identity, and capacities. Also, to discredit them as autonomous beings and as political actors. In this case, the aim also to disorient the Kurdish freedom movement on the assumption that its strength and coherence depends on a single leader. But this assumption by the state is contradicted by the democratic form of the movement, which will continue to make its own autonomous decisions.
During the peace negotiations between the Kurdish movement and Turkish state, talks were held together with Öcalan on Imralı Island. What do you think is the importance of Öcalan for peaceful resolution of the Kurdish question?
Well, by negotiating with Ocalan many years ago, the Turkish state implicitly recognized that he had a crucial role for any peaceful resolution. He commands the respect of the entire Kurdish freedom movement, and he understands the need for a stepwise de escalation of the conflict. I mean, during the negotiations, the state expected somehow to accommodate the Kurds while ultimately excluding their chosen political representatives. This strategy did not work for several reasons. The HDP gained greater support in Turkey's elections, greater international prominence, and the Rojava experiment gave the Kurds greater self confidence to achieve self governance. Perhaps most importantly, the Turkish regime had several motives to continue the war on the Kurds. Öcalan has understood that a peaceful resolution would require changes in the Turkish state itself so that it would accept the decisions by any region to establish democratic autonomy.
What do you think about Öcalan's ideas and his commitment to the peace in the region?
Around the late 1990s, Öcalan led the Kurdish freedom movement into a political transition towards the principles of democratic autonomy and democratic confederalism. Among all geopolitical areas that would want to adopt such an approach, as the mass movement in Syria demonstrates, these principles have the capacity to unite all pro democracy people, regardless of ethnic background. Only such a mass democracy can bring peace. I mean, about a decade ago, the AK Party foreign minister promised a policy of, quote, zero problems with neighboring countries. In reality, its actions have created or intensified conflicts with Turkey's neighbors, especially conflicts among ethnic groups, by instrumentalizing Islamist groups as proxies in Syria, as the AK Party had done in Turkey itself. This policy has created greater conflict among people. Nevertheless, the principles of democratic autonomy can inspire efforts towards both peace and democracy.
Since Öcalan's imprisonment, there has been a global campaign for freedom for Öcalan. What do you think about this campaign and its importance for achieving peace in the region?
The campaign highlights Öcalan's crucial role in seeking to resolve the conflict between the Turkish state and everyone who wants democracy in Turkey and the region. The campaign clearly identifies the Turkish state as the main cause of conflict within Turkey and the region, and so demands a change in its approach away from being a terrorist state as a basis for peace and justice. And this is why the campaign has already gained such a great international prominence and support.
Dear Les Levidow, a co-founder of the campaign against criminalizing communities, the CAMPACC. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for your valuable comments today.
Teşekkürler. Spas.
Thank you. Thank you, Les.